great pleasure that I introduce our mayor of Douglas County this evening, as our guest speaker for the first meeting of 2014. Our mayor grew up in Waycross, Georgia, where he attended Waycross High School and graduated in 1960. Okay. As a young man, he was very involved with athletics as well as Boy Scouts. His educational background includes studies at North Georgia Military College, DeKalb Junior College, Georgia State University, and his credentials are all in business. He served in the military and received his honorable discharge with the U.S. Army. Our mayor is a retired businessman with over 35 years of experience. During his business career, he's received many accolades. He served on the Douglas County City Council for almost 7 years, held positions such as Mayor Pro Tem, Chairman of the Public Safety Committee, and member of the Finance Committee and Chairman of the Personnel Committee. He has also chaired our city's Planning and Zoning Board for the last 5 years. He was also on the Douglas County Planning and Zoning Board for 7 years and 4 years as the vice chairman. He is currently on the board of the Douglas County Water and Sewer Authority, Cobb and Douglas Board of Health, Atlanta Regional Commission. He also serves on the board for the Georgia Academy of Economic Development, just to name a few. In July, he was appointed by the governor to the Georgia Commission for Service and Volunteerism. Most recently, he was asked to join the GMA Member Service Task Force. Some can even find our mayor teaching Sunday school at Central Baptist Church. He's very busy, right? He and his wife of 34 years, Sherry, has called Douglas County their home since 1978. They have 3 adult children and 8 grandchildren. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our mayor of Douglas County, our guest speaker for tonight, Mayor Harvey Persons.
Thank you, Dr. Rollins. And you were very gracious with the introduction, especially when you had a little cough at that age portion of it, and I'm going to speak with my assistant. I thought that had been removed. But it wasn't too long ago, I might add. But thank you for graciously skipping over that. Dr. Rollins asked me to speak, and she said, "You said I'll have about an hour?" Well, I got quiet. No, I won't. Trust me, I won't take an hour. I could because, and want to thank Ms. Kelly Hunter, who is the director of our communications and also has City TV. I want to thank her and her fine young son for being with us tonight on this damp night. But what I was going to say is she can attest to the fact that I can speak for an hour. And the reason I can is because I'm very passionate about what I speak about, and that is the city of Douglasville and what we do at the city of Douglasville. I'm very passionate about it because I've lived here for the better part of almost 37 years now, and I choose to stay in Douglasville and Douglas County. Dr. Rollins mentioned that I am retired. I was fortunate enough to be able to do that a little over 4 years ago. And I could live anywhere in the U.S. that I choose to, but I choose to stay in Douglasville. 15 years ago, right at 15 years ago now, when I was working, I built a new home. And at that point in time, what I did for a living, I could have lived anywhere in the Atlanta metropolitan area that I wanted to live and still make a living. I chose to stay in Douglasville. I'd already been residing in Douglasville for the better part of 22 years, and I chose to stay in Douglasville. Some of you, I don't know, may know where what we call the back entrance to Hunter Park is, and there was a 1 acre building lot there. I purchased that, subdivided it, and built 2 homes. I kept one of them because I wanted to stay in Douglasville, in Douglas County. So it's not a fluke that I'm here in Douglas County. Originally, I moved out here because I felt that it was the best economic value to purchase a home. And I also was working for a firm at the time, a little firm called UPS at Fulton Industrial. But over the years, I have chosen to continue to stay in Douglasville and Douglas County because I feel it's one of the premier places in America to live. And you're going to hear me reference that on several or many occasions as I speak to you tonight. So you see, when I talk about Douglasville and Douglas County being one of the premier places in America to live and what we can do to continue to make it that way and make it so that people all over the country and really all over the world recognize Douglasville and Douglas County for the premier place that it is in America. And when I say that, I don't say it idly. I say it with passion and conviction because over the years I have chosen to stay here and continue to stay here when I could live anywhere in the country. So I love our county. I love our city. I'm very passionate about it. And when you hear me say that I could speak for hours, Ms. Hunter's back there shaking her head going, uh-huh. So she's saying, please get started, Mayor, so we can get through and these folks can get on with their meeting. But I did want to give you that brief introduction and tell you how I feel about our community and the great community that it is. So tonight, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to speak to the Junior League chapter of Douglas County concerning some of my civic platforms and initiatives. I know I'm speaking to the right kind of group when I started by reading the invitation email that Dr. Rollins sent to me, and my eye caught sight of the confirmatory words in the second sentence, the very second sentence of her email, when she said, we are a premier city in which to live, work, play, and raise a family. So I can say a joyous amen as I start, because you see, that's something that I say over and over and over and over again. Collectively, working together, we're going to make this one of the premier places in America to live, work, play, and raise a family. And each and every one of you here tonight play a very active part in that. Because you see, when I campaigned, one of the things that I campaigned on was I wanted to help make. I said, help make. And I was very deliberate in my choice of words when I said, help make. Because you see, any one individual working on their own really can't accomplish the things that they want to do with a vision that they may have. Because you see, it takes a lot of people working together to accomplish that vision. So I say, help make, help make. And it takes each and every one of you working together on a lot of the initiatives that I'll talk about here tonight. So these words were a cornerstone when I ran for mayor of the city of Douglasville some 2.5 years ago, almost 3 at this point now. And they sounded good as a campaign objective, and they sound even better as I and many other people continue to work on their implementation. That we are on our way to becoming one of the premier places in America. Think about that. Where you live. Not some other place out there and wherever, but right here in Douglasville and Douglas County. We're on our way to becoming one of the premier places in America to live, work, play, raise a family, and to be able to do so in a safe environment. And that has gone now from not only a slogan, but a goal and objective that I've asked a lot of people to tackle and take on. And tonight, before I'm through, I'll ask that you also join with us in doing that. So let me start by commending each and every one of you for being here tonight and your organization for the passion that you have about literacy. I want to quote back to the 3 points made by Dr. Rollins in her correspondence to me. And then I'll touch on these points in my remarks about the city of Douglasville and the progress I believe this community and its citizens are making on several fronts. First point from Dr. Rollins' email. She said in there, reading skill is the single greatest predictor of future economic or future academic success. Second point in her email was 40% of America's children have difficulty learning to read. Right here in America, in the communities that we all live in and see on an everyday basis. That's America. Third point, people in the USA who are illiterate, now listen to this statistic, represent 75% of the unemployed. 75%. A third of mothers receiving aid for their families with dependent children. 85% of juveniles who appear in court, and over 60%. And I've heard statistics as high as 70% of the inmates that are in prison. So when you ask yourself, is illiteracy important or is literacy important? Go back to these statistics. Get Dr. Rollins to provide you with them. Again, thank you for the invitation to come to the city of Douglasville's Hunter Park and speak to your meeting being held in the recently named Ike Owens Community Center. Many of you may know that Ike Owens was a tireless worker to improve the community in which we live. He started out in this community working to improve it and make it a great place to live, work, play, raise a family over 60 years ago. As a matter of fact, the very facility that we're in tonight, it's a great facility, beautiful facility, and if you haven't had an opportunity to tour the ball fields and the tennis courts and some of the other places, come back during the day when it's not raining and you can get out and really see them. Sure, you wouldn't want to get a tour tonight, but we can arrange that if you'd like to. But over 60 years ago, do you know what this very place was that we're in tonight? It was a swamp. It was a wooded area. Because I gave the dedication where we dedicated it to Ike Owens here about 3 weeks ago and talked about that very thing. This area that we're in right now was basically a swamp filled with trees, underbrush, ponds, and somebody told me it had a lot of jackrabbits. Jackrabbits are still here, or their descendants are still here, I can assure you that. But over 60 years ago, an individual had a vision and worked tirelessly to accomplish that. And here we are tonight, the beneficiaries of this facility, of a vision that somebody had over 60 years ago. So where do we go with it? That's what I challenge you with tonight. Where do we go with it, and what do you do as individuals to help us continue on that vision? Now, 60 years ago, I don't know that Mr. Owens looked at and thought about Douglasville and Douglas County being one of the premier places in America. But he had a vision of what he wanted to see and what he wanted to accomplish, and we're working tirelessly every day to continue on that vision. And I ask that you join us in doing that. Now, certainly we put an emphasis on athletics in our city parks, but we also place an emphasis on using the facilities in our park to help make a person's mind and body healthier. Because you see, it's a combined effort. You can't just have intellectual, academic activities and pursuits without the mind, the body, and all the other things that make a balanced individual and make a community the community that it is. So all of it is important. And as you may be aware, the city of Douglasville and its Parks and Recreation Department have partnered with Google. Now listen to what I'm fixing. I told Dr. Rollins a little bit about this earlier. This is something we're extremely excited about. But we have partnered with Google to acquire excellent computer equipment beginning to be used by school children at Hunter Park and Jesse Davis Park. And I see several of you out there that are using your iPads and you're using your cell phones. Are you taking advantage of the wireless internet that we have? How much how much we charge you to get on? Zero? Didn't cost you anything? How did that happen? It's amazing. If you go out in one of our ball fields and try to get on, guess what? You can get on out there also. We have tournaments out here. As a matter of fact, we had a tournament not too long ago that brought over 10,000 people to the city of Douglasville. They were able to sit in the viewing stands, take pictures, and send them to their friends and family back home in different states around the country. But that was a partnering with Google that allows us to do that. Right now, at this point, we have over 67 acres. Over 67 acres that we have wireless access to. We have it here in the Hunter Park. We have it downtown Douglasville, main part of downtown. And we also have it in our Jesse Davis facility. Now, through a couple of grants with Google, or from Google, who has proven to be a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful corporate citizen to our community. I could throw some numbers out there as far as the dollars and whatnot. They may not astound you or amaze me, but what they've done to help our community is astounding. So when you're using Google, look at it and think about they are truly a corporate partner in our community, helping us make this one of the premier places in America. Because what we're able to do is spread that out to other states, other communities, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about the educational opportunities that it's going to afford. Now, we're beginning to work with some of the high school students to improve the academic performance for kids that are going to have learning experiences within these parks. You say, well, how is that? They're going to be coming to these parks for athletics. Oh, no. Come back in about, Kelly, was it about 3 weeks? Matter of fact, I've got a meeting with Kelly one day here, and maybe tomorrow, next week, where we're going to have a ribbon cutting with Google and open up these park facilities for educational, academic training and provide access to kids that don't have internet access. They don't have computers. They don't have laptops. Some of the things that each and every one of us take for granted. But these are things that will help with the academics, with the literacy, with the kids that are in our community that so many don't have. Some of the things that the people in this very room have and we take for granted every day. We're going to work to make a difference there. And like I said, we're beginning to work with some of the high school students in Douglas County High School to provide after-school tutoring for elementary and middle school students. I think this is a win-win situation for everyone. When I campaigned, one of the things that somebody told me one day was we want to take and set up some tutoring programs for the kids. And I said, well, surely the parents are able to work with them. They said, well, no, you don't understand. Some of the parents can't even read and write. And some of those very kids that you're talking about don't have access to the internet, much less tablets and computers, the things that we take for granted. I said, I get elected mayor, we're going to work to improve and fix that. And collectively, I can't, I say I don't wish I could take credit for it. Because you see, it's so many people working together to improve the lives of the kids in our community, to improve the academics, but you can't improve the academics if they're illiterate. Right? Kelly's told me not to get too far from this microphone. Sometimes I told you I can get passionate about it and I get on a roll. And sometimes I start to wander and want to really get engaged. And Kelly told me, don't do that, Mayor. Stay close to the microphone. But you can't have great academics if you can't read and write. Can you? So that's something that we want to do and we're going to do. We're putting computer labs in these parks here at Jesse Davis, as well as here at Hunter Park, as well as Jesse Davis, to improve the literacy rate and help with the academics of the kids that are in our community. So I thank Google over and over and over for their active role in what we're trying to do, and then also the people that have been very involved and very engaged with it. So Like I said, it's a win-win situation. Now, shortly after the first of the year, Douglasville mayor, who is me, is going to deliver the annual State of the City address. I'll do that next week during our Tuesday, January the 21st meeting of the City Council. Now, it's about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how off my notes I get. They've told me, stick with the notes, Mayor. Don't embellish it. But sometimes it's very difficult not to. But if you don't want to come and sit there and listen to the State of the City, you can pick it up on our City TV. How many of you in here have watched some programs on City TV, Channel 22? How many of you know that you can? How many of you didn't know that you can? From the very comfort of your home, you don't have to come out at night like this when it's raining. You can pull up, watch on City TV our council meetings, and you can see a lot of the other activities that are going on within the city of Douglasville. That's on Channel 22. And again, we have Miss Hunter back there. Let me tell you, and she blushes when I do this, because she started our City TV from I think you had a camera and walking around, but now it has expanded so that it has statewide recognition for what our City TV is, and it's to the credit of Miss Hunter and her staff. So, if you can't come to the meeting next Tuesday night, you can watch it on City TV at some point during the next few weeks, and we'll give you the schedule. You'll be able to pull it up. If you pull up and go to City TV, you can also pull it up on your computer. You can go to Douglasville, pull up City TV, and it'll give you a full list of things that you can pull up and look at and see the meetings and so forth. So, but it'll be running. Ms. Hunter tells me they're going to run it quite often during February, March. So I'm sure you will only want to watch it one time, though. But go to it, look at it, and you'll get the expanded version of some of what I'm going to talk about tonight. Now, my State of the City address basically will be a very positive report, because the past 12 months were filled with many accomplishments as a collective body, and only a relatively few disappointments. These months also brought a variety of challenges into our lives, and in many of these, the closing chapter is yet to be written. Because you see, each and every one of you play a very important part in helping write that closing chapter. Or will there ever be a closing chapter? Because you see, generations after generations after generations will follow us. But the legacy that each and every one of you leave, the next generation will be able to play on that. So that final chapter, I don't know will ever be written. Now, I'm in the midpoint of my 4-year term as mayor of the city of Douglasville. And on the one hand, I want to savor the many, many moments from the past 2 years. Because you see, it's been exciting, and it's truly been a joy and a pleasure to serve this great city and you as citizens each and every day during the last 2 years. And working with the city's other elected officials, our valuable, valuable, valuable staff members. I've told you a little bit about Ms. Hunter, but we have many other key staff people as well as individuals that work tirelessly day in and day out to provide the citizens and our community of Douglasville and Douglas County the services that you get each and every day. And the committed and engaged citizens, like each and every one of you, from all walks of life and from every part of our Douglasville community. Now, I believe we've reached many of the initial goals that were set, but we have many more yet to come, and we have many challenges facing us as we move forward. Now, on the other hand, though, I can paraphrase from a person that I believe, from a poem that I believe was written by Robert Frost, that speaks of the miles to go before we sleep. And indeed, much remains that I want to do and that I plan to do during my first term as mayor. We embarked on this journey together. I didn't launch out on it by myself, but I launched out on it with many, many people working to help us achieve the goals and the things that we want to do. And tonight, as I said when I opened, I challenge each and every one of you to go with us on this journey because it's exciting. Now, I trust that you will work with me over the next 2 years because you see in Dr. Rollins' email, that was one of the things she asked. What can we do? How can we engage? And we want you to engage. We want your participation. Because you see, we're not an island. I'm not just one person with this wild vision and think that I can do it and accomplish it all by myself. Now I've got a vision, I've got a dream for what we want our community to be. But see, each and every one of you play a part of it. But we got to engage, and we've all got to get on the same train, going in the same direction. Because you see, our quest together, working together, we're going to make Douglasville, working together, make Douglasville one of the premier places in America to live, work, play, and raise our families and be able to do so in a safe environment. Now, obviously, there are many ways to address a broad subject such as the state of our city, and I've chosen to do so by focusing on 7 major topics. I'm not going to cover all 7 of them, so y'all can relax. You're thinking, how long can this go? Well, it won't go much longer, and I'm not going to expound on all 7 of them, believe me, because I could stay here as long as you want to and expound on all of them, because you see, I'm that passionate about it, because we have one of the greatest places in America to live, and we're going to make it even greater. Now, I've chosen, like I said, 7 major topics, and each of them, I believe, speaks to the identifications I've made about the community we all call home. These 7 topics are economic development, community life, infrastructure, community services and facilities, public safety, education, and very importantly, fiscal stability. Because you see, it's one thing to talk about all the things you want to do and all the things you want to accomplish, and we all hear about programs and grandiose ideas and visions and all that, but it all takes money. And you got to be fiscally responsible to be able to do it and have a return on investment back to the citizens for their tax dollars. And I've said that time and time again, and to some people that's a novel idea and a concept. Because you see, I look at it as a business. Like I said, or Dr. Rollins said, I've got 35 years of, well, really more than that, but we won't get into that, of business experience. And I hear people say, well, you can't run it like a business. Really? Why? You have revenues coming in, you have expenses going out, and you better balance it. And you better maximize that investment. Because where does that investment come from? Where do those monies come from? Let me tell you where they come from. They come from the taxpayers. It's your money. It's not our money. And we need to be good stewards of your money and how we spend it. And we're going to be. We're going to be fiscally stable and fiscally responsible so that we can provide the things that we talk about. Now, tonight, and I'm going to need to speed up a little bit, and I'll highlight and gloss over some of this because I think y'all got a business meeting after this, right? And you didn't come just to hear me talk. So tonight I'm going to touch on some of the topics that I cover to greater length in my State of the City. And like I said, I'll gloss over them. One of them is economic development. And on the final day of 2013, the City Council met in a special session to approve some changes in our zoning ordinance. Why would you want to do it on the last day of the year? Well, it's for very specific reasons. Our zoning ordinance is one of the things that helps us when we want to expand and grow economic development. And one of the initiatives that we have looked at in the recent months in the city of Douglasville is the film industry. The film industry, if you've read, has done and is doing a lot of things throughout Georgia as well as right here in Douglasville. There have been several movies that have been filmed right here in Douglasville. Now, the Development Authority, City of Douglasville's Development Authority, more affectionately known as CDDA, successfully completed the changes, or some of the changes in our zoning ordinance in regard to the film industry. And I'm excited that over what we've done, that in 2014 is good. Now, listen to this very carefully, because you're going to hear something not too far in the distant future that you're going to go, wow. I first heard that referenced at Hunter Park the night the mayor spoke. But one of the things that we're going to have a major announcement in the coming weeks and months that each and every one of you will be excited about. It's going to have a dramatic impact on our community. And you say, why is that? Why would somebody want to come to Douglasville? Because it's one of the premier places in America to live, work, play, raise a family. And you're going to see some of that with the announcements that we'll make coming up sometime later on next month. Now, the City Development Authority has had a tremendous year in 2013 and a number of economic development projects initiated several months and some even a few years ago, culminated in major announcements which will result in 2014 in a capital investment of some $210 million and ultimately approximately 900 new well-paying, not low-paying, well-paying jobs in the city of Douglasville. Companies that you may or may not know about: McMaster-Carr, Gordon Foods, BioLife, and a new addition, which is a new addition to the Midline, help place the city's development authority on the map in this state when it comes to excellent now economic development. Now, you hear people talk about economic development and bring jobs. Well, we don't want just jobs. We want two things. We want economic development with good paying jobs and with companies that'll be good community partners in our community. We're going to be selective in the companies that we go out and go after and the companies that we bring to Douglasville and Douglas County. Because why? Because it affects you, each and every one of you. It affects your lives. It affects our children's lives. Because what we want to be able to do is provide jobs so that when our kids go to school and grow up and they graduate, guess what? I can stay right here in Douglasville, right here in Douglas County. And when we partner with the right companies, they'll be active participants in our community with the same vision, same goals, same objectives that we have. And that's to help make this one of the premier places in America. But if you just say, well, we just want economic development and we want job. No. We're very specific in who we're going after and what we want and why we want it. So our CDDA continues to work to bring good jobs and good businesses to Douglasville. Now, I want to recognize these groups and the individuals who work continuously to make our downtown area also a progressive and forward-thinking Douglasville. We have our Main Street program. We have the Downtown Development Authority. Each and every one of these deserves special recognition because, you see, the current occupancy rate in downtown Douglasville is 88%. You say, well, 88%. It has not dropped below 87% during the last 4 years with the economic downturn that we had starting in 2008. So we have a very viable, growing downtown area. Now, if you want to make a community a premier place to live, work, play, raise your families, it's just essential that there be an increase in local employment opportunities. We're adding those on a regular basis so that we can provide opportunities not only to our youth coming up, but each and every one of you. Somebody in here tonight may go to work for one of these companies that we're bringing to Douglasville. Now, next, let me talk briefly about community life. I believe that most people want to feel like they have roots. In talking to Dr. Rollins earlier, she said she grew up in Douglasville in Douglas County. Graduated from a little school we all know, Lithia Springs High School, right? She went away, was gone sometime, but came back. Why did she come back? Because that's where her roots are. That's where her family is. She told me that her family's still here. That's a part of a sense of community that we all want. You want to be a part of something. You want to be a part of community. And I believe that that is extremely important. People want to belong to something bigger than themselves, and that they want to feel that they have control over their own destinies. Why do you belong to Junior League? Why do you participate in it? Why do you think that it's important? You want to belong to something bigger than you. You want to be engaged in something. You want to be a part of something. You want to help make it better. And that's that sense of community that we all want and strive to get. And we recognize that with the city of Douglasville. And we're working diligently every day to improve that quality of life. Now, personally, I think that is why in Metro Atlanta in recent years we've seen several initiatives to create new cities. It is why I think a very important aspect of making Douglasville a premier place in America. You're going to hear me say that over and over and over again. One of the premier places in America to live, work, play, raise a family, and having a viable community life. Because you see, that's what we all want. You want roots. You want to belong to something. You want to have a sense of community. That's why we live in this community. That's why, one of the reasons I moved here 37 years ago, and that's why I've chosen to stay here for the last 37 years. When I built my house over here on, well, as a matter of fact, it's right over here at the corner of Whitley and Pinecrest, right behind, if you know where Hightower Funeral Home is. When I built it, I said my next move was going to be either the funeral home or the nursing home. And some of my friends said, well, that's not too far off, and it's good that you built it there because you're not far from either one of them. So, now, in my State of the City address, I identified what I consider to be 8 important ingredients, and I'm not going to go over what all 8 of those are, but we want to continue to evolve into the fabric of a positive community life. Let me say that I'm not ranking these in any particular order, but we have many things to offer that add to the community of life. I want to comment briefly on the final ingredient, and that is a faith-based community. Because you see, that's very important to a community. That speaks to the very core of what a community is. When Dr. Rollins introduced me, she went through this. She was very gracious in that bio and, that's been put together. And, I'm involved in a lot of things. And, some people say it's accomplishments or whatever. But 2 of the things that I'm the most proud of? The 2 things that were at the end of the bio. And that's my family life, my kids, my grandkids, and the fact that I've taught Sunday school for over 33 years. Because you see, that speaks to the core of who you are and what you are as a community. And that's what we have right here in Douglasville and Douglas County. So when I was elected, I formed a faith-based group. When I first got elected, a group of pastors asked me to speak to them, which I did. I spoke to them, and I very graciously accepted. Thank you for allowing me to come speak to you today. But this is the first time and the last time I'll be speaking to you. It was just like right now. You could have heard a pin drop. And I said, now that I've got your attention, why is it going to be the first time and the last time? I said, because the next time, I said, we're going to have another meeting. It's going to be a month from now because we meet regularly, every month. I said, but the next month we meet, it's going to be a collective group of faith-based churches and organizations. It's not going to be any specific denomination. Notice I haven't spoken to denomination. It's going to be faith-based driven. It's not going to be white, black, Hispanic, Latino, I was getting that together. Hispanic, Asian, whatever, male, female. It's going to be faith-based. And we have that. And we work together with community and organizations to make this community what it is. Because you see, being faith-based speaks to the very core of what a community is. And I've told them when I've spoken to them, let me tell you something. You talk about holding elected officials accountable. I want to be held accountable. I don't have a problem in the world with it. But you know what? And I told them, I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold you accountable for the core of what this community is and what it's about. And I do it every month. Do I not, Kelly? I don't back up from it, because that's what makes a community what it is. Its core, its foundation, its beliefs, its values, it's who it is. It's extremely important. Now, I'm not talking about churches that seek to function in isolation or civic groups that seek to function in isolation from the rest of the community. Instead, I'm talking about faith-based leadership which seeks to extend its outreach into the community, working in conjunction with other leaders, other civic organizations, and various segments of our society, in particular, those which are most vulnerable. And this speaks to the thing with the literacy and the literacy programs that y'all have a passion for. Because you see, these are individuals that are the most vulnerable in our community. And you know, it's great to talk about economic development and jobs, and you know, everybody wants to talk about that. But if you do that at the expense of those that are most vulnerable in our community, what have you accomplished? What have you done? That's irresponsible to me. So one of my first actions 2 years ago when I became mayor of the city of Douglasville was to work with the pastors and other leaders in forming an active-based faith group to tackle some of the important local concerns in our community. Quickly, this group decided it should focus on the homeless, and we did so with important results that were achieved as we worked together in Douglasville with Metro Atlanta, United Way, and this region's homeless task force. And I could launch into the numbers and the success rate that we've had with it, but that's not what you're looking for or you want to hear tonight. I have a saying, and I wish I was the one that coined it, but I didn't. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for a day. I'm sorry, you give a man a fish. I was getting it backwards. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And with our homeless community, we had churches and civic organizations that were going around. They were giving them food and taking them firewood to burn. And I was astounded when I found this out. Somebody said, yeah, we wear laundry and take it home. I said, can I get in on some of that action? My wife would love it. But we weren't helping them. All we were doing was enabling them. So through working with United Way, some other civic organizations, and our faith-based group, we were able to find homes for them, evaluate them, find jobs. Because we wanted to teach them to fish. Anybody familiar with the homeless community that used to be behind or over there near Kroger? You been over there lately? They're not there. See me later and I'll tell you what happened. It's a great story. Now let me turn from the subject of community life to the subject of community services and facilities. I could go on and on about that, but I know we're pressed for time. But the next thing I want to talk about briefly is customer service. Perhaps the greatest community service a local government can provide is good customer service. You're saying, customer service from the government? Let me tell you something. Like I told you, I had 35 years in business. Well, really a little bit more than that, but that's close enough. But customer service is a very important part. And we're going to give good customer service to our citizens. I believe that our employees provide quality customer service and do so on a consistent basis, and they're going to continue to do so. Because Douglasville, by rendering quality customer service, we can underscore our commitment to maintain a firm foundation on which, working together, we're going to make this one of the premier places in America. Now, how many have seen our conference center? If you haven't seen our conference center, I would encourage you to do so. Go see it. We have over 38,000 feet of meeting space, and I won't go into that. I talk about public safety. Our public safety, we feel that we have one of the premier police departments and sheriff's organizations in the country. If you don't believe that, Go to the mall, commit a crime, see what happens. Let me tell you what will happen. And I say this, and I'll say it on camera again, because I've said it time and time and time again on camera. You want to come to Douglasville, our community, visit one of our restaurants, shop at our mall, or get a job, or move here and do right. Somebody told me that wasn't the right thing to say. I ought to be saying something else. But that's what it boils down to. You want to do right? We embrace you. You come out here, misbehave, act up, mistreat one of our citizens. You know what we're going to do? We're going to put you in jail. And then deal with our judiciary, who has a reputation for not bonding them out and sending them on. Not only that, we're going to put you in jail, they're going to send you to prison. Why? Because we want to provide you with a safe community, and we want to provide a safe environment for you to live, work, play, and raise your families. And we're committed to doing that. Trust me. If you don't believe it, go to the mall, act ugly, commit a crime. But nobody in this group is going to, and I know that. But you can rest assured every day our police department and our sheriff's department is committed to you to give you a safe environment. Education, I could talk about education again all night, and I know y'all didn't come to hear all of that. But the city of Douglasville is not directly responsible for education, if you will, because you see our Board of Education is the one that does that. So you say, well, what's the city's commitment to education? Let me tell you what it is. We've taken steps to enhance the delivery of quality education in this community. This is not a new emphasis for the city of Douglasville. For you see, more than 2 decades ago, when I served on the city council then, this local government played a key role in securing a local campus of a regional technical college. Now it is known, how many of you know about Douglas County West Central Tech? Anybody had the opportunity to avail yourself of those services? It was started over 20 years ago in the campus right here in Douglasville because of the city of Douglasville's commitment to education. To show its appreciation for the support provided by this very city, fiscal and otherwise, Technical College System of Georgia named the middle section of the school's conference center in honor of the city of Douglasville. So, and I could go on and on with some of the things that the city continues to do. We continue to have contact with the University System of Georgia and its Board of Regents regarding a permanent campus for the local branch of Georgia Highlands College. Currently, this 3-year-old college branch is operating in the former shopping center. How many of you know where the old Walmart is? You know there's a college right there in that shopping center right now? That's some of the commitment the city of Douglasville and the Development Authority has made to education to put that facility there. Now, last but certainly not least, I want to comment on the city's fiscal stability. And I'm getting ready to close, so bear with me. Frankly, this city is blessed to have multiple revenue sources. And you say, why is that important? Well, it's important so that when the economy has a downturn, you're not dependent on just one revenue source. Revenues received by the city of Douglasville go into several different funds, and I'm not going to spend the time to tell you what all those are. The biggest one and the most important one is our general fund, and for the current fiscal year, our budget is $21,548,231. And an old South Georgia country boy, which is what I am. Some people say I've still got a lot of redneck in me. That's a lot of money. But it's your money. And we're going to be good stewards of it each and every day to provide you the services that you want, need, and expect. And there's a lot of other numbers here I could go into and talk about the different funds, but I'm not going to do that. But I will repeat that we have many, many revenue sources that are very, very important. Our Parks and Rec is an important part of providing you that sense of community. We have West Pines Golf Course. But in closing my report on the general fund, let me note that in our last fiscal year, we had a 9% decrease in revenues. We're no different than each and every one of you trying to balance your budget with expenses going higher, revenues going down. But we're committed to that fiscal stability. We cut expenses and we developed a balanced budget. The biggest annual expense, single annual expense we have is the debt retirement for the new conference center. Again, like I said, old South Georgia country boy, looking at a $982,000 debt payment. Wow. But we're making it. And we're making it because it's a collective group of people working together to make it happen. Again, if you hadn't, I mentioned the Wi-Fi is free. How many of you have been to the conference center? Anybody want to tell me how much parking was? How much? Free. Kelly, remind me to get into that when we get back tomorrow. You're right, free. How many communities do you go to? You go to somewhere in a facility like that, and before you even pull in, you got to get a little ticket and you got to pay when you leave. It's free in Douglasville. In conclusion, let me say, if you haven't guessed it already, I'm proud of the state of the city of Douglasville. And I've highlighted several different areas and opportunities that you as a junior league can engage in. You just tell me which one you want to plug into, we'll put you to work. Because you see, there's plenty of work to go around. There's plenty of opportunities to go around. But you've shown by your commitment tonight, and certainly sitting here listening to me, that you're committed to Douglasville, our community, making it a better place, and making it one of the premier places in America to live, work, play, and raise your families. And working together, we're going to do that, and we're going to ensure that you have a safe community to do that in. So, thank you for, I hope I hadn't spent too much time, but like I said, I could go on for hours, and I know you don't want to hear that. Kelly said she didn't want to hear it either. She wanted to go home. But thank you for Dr. Rollins for asking me to come. You've been very attentive. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you being involved and engaged in our community. Because you see, it is our community, and it belongs to you, not to me. It doesn't belong to the elected officials. We're just here to serve you, and that's what we want to do, and we want to make sure that you get your money's worth. So thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me make this report, and may God bless you, your families, and our great community. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor Parsons, for all your passion about this community. I, for one, am very excited to hear about these exciting announcements. So I'll be waiting to hear about that, and I'll come Tuesday and hear what it's all about. And obviously, I'm very excited about Academy of Sports. So if you had anything to do with that.
Have you got another 30 minutes? You didn't mention Steak and Shake.
Right. I haven't been there yet, but I'm waiting for the rest of the county to make their way. But on behalf of the Junior League, we want to honor you for your leadership and commitment to our community. So
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my
for
pleasure.
Your time.
Thank you.
All right.